Welcome to Otaku House.
It's like every day you eat it.
Episode 2. I'm Turtle.
What up? This your boy Kente.
And can you breathe yet?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So,
Oh my god.
you asked the question, episode 1. I'm gonna ask the question this time.
All right.
What is something in fiction you want to see happen more often?
Ooh. Okay. I feel like it's gonna be. I don't want to say a hot take, but this is not gonna be one a lot of people are gonna agree with. Not because it's controversial or anything, but I think it's there's a high saturation of it now. So okay, you know how in especially as of lately, how in Isekai they'll have the video game display, like, or the heads up display, like you can go through a menu or a setting or anything like that. So okay, I want more of that. I feel like it's just efficient, right? They don't necessarily have to work like how most of the ones we've seen work, because lately there's been a lot of like mages in that sense doing it. I feel like you can do that same type of thing without having to be mages. Actually, I know for a fact you can do the same thing without having to be mages, because SAO built their whole concept off the idea of using it with swords. So I know the same thing can be done for other classes, right? I think Log Horizon is a great example. Shield Hero is a great example. Actually, Shield Hero is another example where they're not using technically like magic, like a spellcaster, in that sense, doing the exact same thing. I think those are great examples. So yes, as far as like something I've seen in fiction, I would say just the video game heads-up display that you get in anime now would be great, especially if it could be implemented to other series, right, or other worlds, essentially other fandoms. Because imagine how efficient a wizarding school would be if you can learn how to use magic spells and there's a training tutorial guide with the teachers. You could just download that as a program or something, however they wanted to do it, and then like it could show you your proficiency with said spell. That way you know how much harder you got to work on this spell.
You know what's great about you bringing it up, and the fact that you brought up Shield Hero, is that Shield Hero did have that tutorial system. And it's brought up to him, spoiler, near the end of the first season, where he had that as an option the entire time and just didn't know about it. And that the other 3 heroes had been using it the entire time. And they were having so much of an easier time because of it.
Yep. Now, see, what I do like about Shield Hero in that same regards is how, I don't remember the name of the episode. I don't even remember like what season episode type deal it was. Seeing how there's only like one season now, right? Or there's 2 seasons now, but at the time there was one episode in season 1 where all 4 of the heroes got together, and now for me asked a very important question to the other 3, which was, how do you get your skills stronger, right? And it's actually one of the episodes that I loved and how they did it, because of the fact that each one had a different way of doing theirs to level up their skills. One had refining, one had like higher rarities, right? The other one would basically like,
he was proficiency.
Yeah, his was like proficiency, but it was also
one was stats, like just building up your physical stats.
Right? But like it's that way you can use better weapons. Right? Like each one had a different one. And I think I even want to say one of them had a way where you can break down the components of said like item and then rebuild it.
Oh, all 4 of them could do that, because that's that same episode actually where he found out that all 4 of them had like this tutorial thing that he didn't know about.
Right. Okay.
Where one of them explains to him that all of them could take any material, like take any object, drop it into their weapon. It would break down what that object was made out of, what materials you would need to make a new one. If you wanted to do it again, you could just take all those ingredients, select the item you wanted, and drop it into the weapon. It would make it. Whereas he was doing it by hand the entire time.
Yep. Okay. I got you.
That same episode was the, hey, how do you leveling up your weapons thing? It was the same conversation even.
Okay, but see now that I know that, or at least now that I remember that, having all 4 of those like skill, like I guess skill training formats applied to video, like not just video games, which would be something I think would be absolutely dope, but like having that system in animes or in more fiction, I think would be dope. Especially ones where you don't consider that to be a thing that would work, right? Like I said, I think having that type of system in Harry Potter would be dope. Imagine that for something as like driving. Like, granted, GTA has like their own thing too, but like, as an example, the Initial D, right? You have driving skills, and like each type of thing would be a skill that you could just repeat over and over and have it part of your process. You know what I'm saying? Like, and putting them in combos. I think something like that would be dope in more fiction. I
actually agree.
Yes,
that's something. If it is a hot take, then I'm sorry, but I actually agree with that.
Yeah, but
I think that would be cool.
You know, the reason why I feel like it's a hot take is because there's a saturation of it, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, because I just been tired a lot. We could go through different animes. Granted, most of them will be based in video games, but we can go through animes that have them in abundance. But like,
or we could go through one franchise that has multiple animes and does it a bunch of different ways. Digimon.
Absolutely, actually, yes, you're right. Now that you mention that,
and they help because even just between like Adventure and Adventure 02, which is a sequel to Adventure,
right?
They have they went from using Izzy's laptop and sticking the Digivices into it to get the stats of Digimon they had already fought to Adventure 02, where they were able to like scan it right then and there.
Yep.
With the D3, with the thing that looked like a DS.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. You're right. Yeah. They were able to just scan the Digimon and then get the information they wanted from it.
Yep. D3 would send the information to the DS-looking thing, and then they would have the information that way. And then you had Tamers, where you had the DR.
And it would just scan it and give you the information. So you wouldn't have to re-upload anything. It just worked like... I just realized those really are encyclopedias. They're just accessing different ways of doing it.
Yes, they are Pokédexes with an actual purpose.
Yeah. Holy crap. Wow. That says a lot. But yeah, it's a BCA.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just a BCA for their franchise. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense.
So I want to use that as the example to show how even just one franchise can do the same thing multiple times and do it in different ways.
And do it better each time. But yes, honestly though, a system like that just makes things efficient. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if they apply... I feel like this is the weirdest one. Right? Imagine if they applied a system like that to Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? Like, in the anime. Not like, obviously, we can do it for games or whatnot, but like, imagine if they do that for the anime itself, where, granted, the dueling part wouldn't be where they'd be at, but with the deck building.
That would force Yu-Gi-Oh! Players to read.
That would force Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters to read too, actually.
You ain't wrong.
That's hilarious. Okay, but yeah, that's something I think would be honest to God. I think that'd be very wonderful, right? Having that type of system. Also, I'm thinking like, because based on the last episode, I think a character who would probably be useful with that, because it shows what's really going through his head. It'd be entirely different. I don't know how they would run it, but seeing Superman with that would be kind of dope. Because it's like he's picking his like physical combos. Like,
it would make it a lot easier for him if he knew how strong his opponent was, so he knew how hard to go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Because then it would make sense. Because it's like the video game characters that has like the multiple health bars. So like once you get one color down, it goes to a different color. There's just, as long as you're seeing Doomsday like that with just 14 bars of multicolored HP, you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Hit him really, really hard.
Doomsday pops in with the doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
If Doomsday popped in with One Winged Angel playing in the background,
bruh,
cool. I'm not Superman. I'm leaving.
Bruh, I'm out. Okay. Nuh-uh. Once I hear Justin, no, not Justin Timberlake, Lance Bass. That's his name. Once I start hearing Lance Bass, I'm out. All right, unless I hear Johnny and Bosch, I'm not staying.
If I'm hearing Latin lyrics, I'm gone.
Period. Oh my gosh. But like, okay, but actually getting back on track, because I thought about something too. Even, I know I mentioned animes, but even manhwas are doing the same thing, right? Soul Leveling being a good example. The Gamer being another example. And if you're not reading The Gamer on Webtoons, I don't know what you're doing. You're tripping. But like, even with certain manhwas in mind, with Webtoons and stuff like that, like the video game aspect, or having like the inventory, right? The infinite space inventory, and like seeing your stats and like knowing exactly how you rank, where you rank, looking at your skills and like being able to mess with different combos, being like skill creations and whatnot. I think having that on characters would be dope. Imagine, bro, the closest, I think like DC, and I'm thinking about it, I feel like DC actually has the closest character they can do that with Blue Beetle. Imagine the Scarab just giving him a heads up display so that he can, one, probably be able to translate what the hell the Scarab was saying, right? Because the Scarab knows English, obviously, right? Or just give the Blue Beetle a lantern ring. It might be broken, but at least we understand what the Scarab's saying. That's my big thing.
Oh, I meant like you were talking about having a heads-up display with stats and a scanner and everything. You're literally wearing a power ring.
I mean, true, yeah. I guess that's where I get the idea from. Well, I guess that tells me what type of lantern I'd be. Either way, but yeah, I think that's just I feel like more animes, more manhwas, more comics should be doing something along those lines. Like, should be doing more along those lines, because that is just efficient. I'm not saying make the anime video game because I feel like you could do the same type of thing with like a warrior class, or like actually, like I said, with Sword Art Online, that's a warrior class. You could do the same thing with that, right? If you're on Webtoons, you're probably reading Auto Hunting with My Clones. Same type of situation, especially with them being more stealthy. Like, there are characters who can do these things, and having just the infinite satchel or looking at stats and skills is just like paramount. Like, it makes things look easy, and we get to see what they have. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I guess to me that is, I'm surprised more people aren't doing it. I can understand why, but like it's so easy. I don't see what's the downside to it. Maybe it's just me.
Like, I think people are just getting burnt out on isekais, which
true,
because there have been so many. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't need an isekai to do any of this stuff.
You really don't.
You could just have your system where that's normal.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's okay. Now that you mentioned it, I feel like it's the magic of whatever universe you want, right? It doesn't have to make logical sense. Air Garrett manga had 70 billion people on its Earth planet. It doesn't have to make sense because it's what the writer wants. Yep. So if I just have this like thing where I have a heads up display and I just can reach into a blue screen and just grab stuff out of it, it doesn't have to make sense as long as I want it to be that way.
Yep.
It'll just make sense within context.
Because, as honestly, like, all those video games where the heads-up display they aren't isekais. That's just something that's in their world.
True. Like,
Master Chief, he wasn't some small white boy that got hit by a space truck and wound up in green armor shooting aliens based around religion. No, he was a child that got, honestly, beaten growing up and trained, that was put in this armor that just so happens to have a heads-up display on it that's helpful. It connects to his weapon, so he knows how much ammo is left. It has a flashlight attached. It has a sonar, so he knows what's around him. Right. Like, he's not an isekai. That's just a thing for his universe.
Right, which makes sense. Like, oh my gosh. Like, to me, the idea just makes sense.
You could just do it without it being an isekai.
Yeah, like, at all.
Digimon. Actually, Digimon's the original isekai. But
Digimon is the original isekai. Fight us. Fight us. Digimon's the original isekai. But, okay, like, I'm trying to think of, like, other mediums where something like that would just be useful. You know what I'm saying?
Name a fantasy game. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy,
Persona.
All these games have canonical stats.
Yeah.
They're not isekais.
They're not.
It's just a thing in their universe.
Yep.
The biggest one example for me would be Xeno, like Xenoverse, Xenoblade.
Yeah. Xenogear, yeah, that whole franchise. Because, like, I'm trying to think, like, okay, just practical application of, like, a menu system to look at skills, right? Imagine if, like, one thing I want to see a character face, because I actually haven't seen a character face this type of situation, is I have too many skills, I don't know which one to use, right? I would think that'd be hilariously dope. Imagine, if you will, an episode of DBZ, right? Actually, no. Let's get into something very specific. The DBZ movie, Goku and Vegeta versus Broly, right? I love it simply because Goku got his face dragged, and I will never let him live that down. Ever. I don't care. Now, with that being said, imagine both Goku and Vegeta, right? Because Broly's going through berserk shit. He can't really, you know what I'm saying? He's not trying to figure nothing out. But both of those two are going through their skill menu because they have so many skills. They don't know which one will be good for the moment they're in. Everything else will just be like, you know what I'm saying? It's in the middle of a fight. You're going through your list, kind of just mentally like, I don't know which one's going to be good. And like in the middle of a fight, just trying to make sure you survive. You would go through the list like mentally and realizing a lot of these moves are just going to slow him down. They're not going to stop him. I need something that's going to put him in the ground and at least hold him there for a minute, even if it doesn't permanently put him there, right? Just to end up going into the moment where they fuse. They're both sharing the same body, so because of it, both of their skill menus are longer now. Because now they're looking at the other skills. You see how, like, I want to see something like that. The closest we're going to get, I'm sorry, I'm going off, I know it. The closest we're going to get is Rimuru, and he knows all of his because he lets Raphael handle all of that. So, yeah.
So, I'm glad you brought that up. Because you see, there are situations where you can see that right now.
Okay.
Three of them are the Digimon World games, which you haven't played yet.
Not yet. I'm going to.
Digimon World 1, you can get up to about 64 skills. The amount of usable skills usually maxes out about 15. You can have 3 for any given fight.
Oh.
Digimon World 2, you get skills as you level up, you degenerate, and you get more skills based off both of those families' skill trees, so on and so forth. You're going to hit a point where you're going to have a maximum number of skills, and you have to lose some permanently. And you have to pick that. You get 12. You don't get 4. Suck it, Pokemon. And then you have Digimon World 3, where it's honestly kind of like the same thing. You get a skill tree that you get for each evolution, and then you get their signature attack, and you have to figure out which move is going to work best for each situation. Another situation is Mega Man. Pick a Mega Man game.
Okay.
There's actually a joke comic about it where Mega Man fights Air Vent Man, and he's like, I have a perfect weapon for you. I get one of these whenever I kill one of you guys. Beep, 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 beep. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Oh man, I just have so many. and this guy's just sweating bullets.
It's like, which one is it?
Which one should I kill you with? That I gained from killing all of your brothers with.
Jeez. That is hilarious.
So that's a thing, and basically every Mega Man game, hell, it's part of the main gameplay style, is that you figure out what works on what enemy. And you get to the point where you're on the fortress bosses where you have like all of the weapons, and now you're over here figuring out, crap. And I have to figure out like right now which one of these works best on you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is that exact thing. Yes.
You want that, but in anime form.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
That's pretty much it. I want to see that because I think that would be dope. And I feel like it's an underutilized system for anime and for comics.
Honestly.
Yeah. Video games, it makes sense, right? Because it's easier to do. You're supposed to be the character. It makes it more RPG-like for you to be able to pick which ones you're going through, right? But in an anime and a comic, you can't choose for the character. And like, granted, like of course, Log Horizon, it makes sense, whatever. But like, watching it being played out for something other than a video game anime just looks good.
So we actually saw it was also a game, but it would make sense for it to happen in the comics, and they could have done it in the show. So there's a point where Spider-Man's fighting a bunch of like these giant robots. It's in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, and he's like, I don't have like the power necessary to take these things out. He goes, I'm going to call Iron Man. And he's like, hey, Iron Man, there's a bunch of robots destroying the city. You mind helping out? And Iron Man's like, cool. What equipment they got? So Spider-Man now has to like dodge attacks and like avoid blows while describing what's going on to Iron Man, so he can adjust his suit to take out the robots that are destroying the city. Iron Man is using Spider-Man not only as a decoy, but as intel. Team Cap.
That's fair.
And Iron Man shows up, well, actually along with Hulk, and they stop the robots. Iron Man, in this, it's technically a game, but it's something that could happen in the comics and something they could do for a TV show, where he's over here like, I have so many options, I need to figure out which ones to bring to battle.
Yep. That makes sense.
So I agree. That is something I would also like to see more.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Okay. Okay, that makes sense then. What's up?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like what series would I like to see that in? Because we like obviously no series that are done for the season that they're done, but like what ongoing series would I like to see that happen in? Or if I would just like to see it happen in a completely original series.
I would like to see it in a completely original series, but like I'm trying to think of something so left field that having it in it is jarring, but still makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing that comes to mind immediately, two things now. I don't think either one of them would actually work per se, but I like the idea. The first was One Piece. The second is Bleach.
Actually, so Bleach is getting a sequel series.
I thought the 1,000-Year Blood War was the sequel series.
No, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc is the anime finishing the series.
Oh.
Because the anime got canceled before the last arc got animated. So the 1,000-Year Blood War arc is just straight up just them finishing the original Bleach series.
Gotcha.
They're getting a sequel series for Bleach.
Okay.
And that's something they could technically do with that because that's a more advanced Soul Society.
Right. Okay.
There's also another series called Burn the Witch. Also written by Kubo. Same universe. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Burn the Witch or read Burn the Witch because it's only gotten an OVA based off a single one-shot of the manga.
Okay.
Because Burn the Witch ends with finding out that their organization is called Soul Society West Branch. They're the Western World's branch of the Soul Society.
From Bleach.
From Bleach. So the big surprise at the end of the series is that it happens in the same universe as Bleach. Not only the same universe, they're part of the same organization.
Right. Oof. That is crazy.
Whereas Bleach, the Soul Society East Branch uses Shinigami, or death gods. The West Branch uses witches. So Japanese death gods versus like American, European witches.
Right. Ooh, that's creepy. That's good. But that's interesting. Okay.
Shinigami are fighting hollows. They're fighting evil spirits. The witches are fighting... They call them dragons. You can call them whatever the hell you want. Those are not dragons. Right. But dragons.
Okay. So I imagine those with the video game heads-up display system, where they could just go through their different skills and pick it like. And mind you, I feel like the biggest issue, because I've thought about this. The biggest issue is how to portray that in real time for the anime, right? In this situation, it'll basically be like, DBZ 3 episodes in 5 minutes. But I still think the best way to do it would just be like, they slow shit down. You hear the inner monologue going through the skill list and then picking it in terms of counters. But like I said, that's just me. That's something I think is a good one.
I feel like Sosuke Aizen would do that pretty immediately.
You see what I'm saying? Because it makes sense, though, doesn't it? Especially for someone who's smart as I am. Just saying.
All right. Let's see.
But with that being said, we out.